Okay, a lot of you out there want to know what's a good chart pattern to trade. What am I looking for when I look at charts and when I consider visual trading and trading chart patterns? Well, here's a great example of the kind of chart pattern that I love to see. I often have this in my newsletter on Tradetobefree.com and trade this kind of pattern in my own trading, and it's often very, very successful. This is just an excerpt taken out of our newsletter from just last week of Alexion Pharmaceuticals. This is a top growth stock, a stock that's grown their earnings and sales very quickly, consistently over the past few years. They have a very strong technical trend, a series of higher highs and higher lows for going back a few years now. And we have a very strong uptrend support, as you can see on this chart. And this support line is drawn by touching the lows, or approximately touching the lows, along the trend. It goes quite a bit further back to the left of this chart. You can't see it right now, but it goes back, like I said, a few years. So you want to find this kind of trend, this kind of, and I can actually show this to you too. In my newsletter, you can actually click the chart here and go into the latest stock chart. This is stockcharts.com, by the way, which is a great charting site. I'm going to go back 6 years on this, a 6-year chart, and we can see that, starting in early 2010, we've got a very strong uptrend going into the recent highs, and that's a very good sign when you have that kind of consistency in the performance of a stock. And we can play off that trend line and play these dips in the stock price as it comes back, consolidating back to its moving average support or trend line support. Now, a lot of traders like to use moving averages, and that can work very well. What I like to do is draw a trend line which is touching the lows from the beginning of the trend up to where we are now and beyond. And the reason I do that is because institutional traders and large money managers that are really the ones moving the market right now don't necessarily have a fixed 10-day moving average or 30-day moving average or 50-day moving average that they use. Assuredly, they pick something just below or just above, or they tweak that as best they can. And if you draw a line on the chart, you can quickly sort of find the right moving average, the right direction of the stock price over time. And it's very often used in technical analysis. It's not something I invented, but if you have a long trend like this and you touch at least 3 lows with that line, you've got a confirmed uptrend. Now there might be 2 or 3 uptrends. You want to pick the one that has the most touches and or over the longest time frame. So I've done that with Alexion Pharmaceuticals here, just to show you a good chart pattern. And if you can find this on a stock with rapidly growing earnings and sales, I'm going back to a 2-year chart now so you can see a bigger picture here. If you find this on a stock with the underlying fundamentals improving as quickly as the stock price, you often have a winner. And this stock is very poised to make a big move here. In fact, it also has, looks like, an ascending base pattern. And those familiar with IBD and their methodology and their books will recognize that the ascending base pattern is one of the top patterns that they trade, and one of the most bullish ones that a lot of traders don't know about. But this pattern normally occurs soon after a breakout of a more typical pattern, which is generally a double bottom pattern or a cup with handle pattern. If you have a breakout on a stage of a base, as they refer to it in the IBD world, soon after you get that main breakout, you'll get the 3 pullbacks within a few months. And after the 3rd pullback and you break through that high, you often see a big run from there. And so we're setting up that kind of move right now for Alexion Pharmaceuticals, especially after the big quarter they reported recently, where they beat both the bottom and top lines again. And we can see the first pullback here, the second pullback here of 10 to 15%, and then might be a little bit less than 10%, but right around 10%, and a third one here that was right around 10%, although this was a little bit less than that. But that's the kind of pattern that's developing here, and we could see a big price move. So again, if you see that kind of pattern, especially in a long-term chart back at least a couple years or so, where you've got that very consistent uptrend and slope to the uptrend with a company with rapid sales and earnings growth, consistent earnings and sales growth, and or a company that's has rising estimates and are beating those estimates, you often have a big winner. And these are the kind of trades that we find on Tradetobefree.com. And if you go to our site, you can get a 3-week free trial of that. There's no credit card required for that, so just enter your name and email address on the homepage, and we'll send you some more of these kind of trades over the next few weeks. Okay, great, thanks. I'm Brian Neal, and with Tradetobefree.com, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you over at the site.